I want you to just picture a scenario for a second. Really try to put yourself there.
Okay.
You're at work, and it's physically demanding, let's say, landscaping or maybe construction.
Tough.
Yeah, something where you really feel it. You clocked in at dawn. You have been grinding all day long. You skipped lunch. You're sweating. Your back is killing you. Your feet are throbbing. You've put in a solid 12 hours of just hard labor.
I'm tired just thinking about it.
Right. You are wrecked. And then, maybe 10 minutes before quitting time, this guy walks in. He looks fresh, smells like cologne. He picks up one box, puts it on a shelf, wipes his hands, and the whistle blows. You both go to the boss, and he hands you both a check for the exact same amount.
I know exactly where this is going.
How do you feel? Because if I'm being honest, I'm not just annoyed, I am furious. I might be flipping a table.
Oh, absolutely. It triggers this visceral rage. It goes against every instinct we have about fairness. You know, we operate on a merit system. Input equals output.
If I work harder, I earn more.
That's the bedrock of civilization, isn't it?
It's the bedrock of our civilization, for sure. It feels like you've been stammed. But that reaction that, hey, I've been cheated, feeling, that is exactly the trap we're walking into today. We are taking a deep dive into Matthew chapter 20. And honestly, if you think you know this chapter, you need to buckle up. Because when you actually dig into the source material, the economics, the geography, this chapter is actively trying to offend your sense of justice.
It really is. It's a total dismantling of the ego. It flips our rules about money, about leadership, about, social status completely on its head.
So lay out the sources for us. What are we working with on this deep dive?
Well, we've got a pretty dense stack. It all centers on the biblical text in Matthew 20, of course.
Yeah.
But I've also got historical data on first century Roman labor, their coinage, which is super important.
Okay.
We've got some archaeological notes on the geography of the road from Jericho to Jerusalem, which really sets the mood.
Yeah.
Some really fascinating linguistic analysis of the original Greek terms.
Words like ransom, envy.
And compassion, yeah, all key.
And what's our mission here? Because just reading it, it looks like 3 totally different scenes just spliced together. You've got a story about workers, then a mom asking for a political favor, then a miracle. Feels a bit disjointed.
You can, yeah. But our mission is to see the thread that ties them all into a single argument. It's a progression. We start with a parable that messes with our idea of fairness. Then we see a real-life conflict about power, and we end with a miracle that shows what getting it actually looks like.
An argument about the upside-down kingdom.
Exactly. And it gets harder to swallow the deeper you go.
Okay, let's start with that famous parable of the workers in the vineyard. This is the fairness trap you were just talking about. Set the scene for us.
So Jesus describes a landowner who goes out early in the morning, around 6 a.m., sun up to hire laborers for his vineyard.
And this isn't like today where you've got a contract signed weeks ahead of time.
No. This is day labor in its most precarious form. These guys would gather in the village square, the agora, just waiting.
So it's basically a meat market.
It is. The foreman comes out, he picks the strongest, healthiest guys first. If you weren't hired, you didn't work. If you didn't work, your family probably didn't eat that night. It was that simple.
High stakes. So the landowner hires this first crew at 6 a.m., and the text says he agrees with them for a denarius for the day.
That's a key detail. There's a contract, a verbal one, a denarius for 12 hours. And a denarius was a Roman silver coin, probably with Tiberius Caesar's face on it. It was the standard day's wage for an unskilled worker.
So it was fair. They knew what they were getting.
Exactly. It was what they needed to survive. Not a fortune, but fair.
Okay, so baseline established. But then the landowner keeps going back.
Yes. He goes back at 9 a.m., then noon, then 3:00 p.m. He sees men just standing there, idle. But notice the contract changes. He doesn't promise them a denarius. He just says he'll pay whatever is right.
So they're working on trust.
They are. But then comes the real curveball.
Yeah.
The 11th hour, 5 p.m. There is 1 hour of sunlight left. He finds guys still standing there. And he asks them, "Why have you been here all day?" They say, "Because no one has hired us."
And I think we just skip over the emotion of that. We think maybe they were lazy.
But they're not. They're unwanted. I mean, think about who's left at 5 o'clock. It's not the young, strong guys. It's the older men, the weaker ones. They've spent a whole day in the sun just marinating in the shame of being rejected.
Knowing they have to go home empty-handed.
Yeah, but the landowner says you go in too. They work for 1 hour, and then the whistle blows.
And here's the twist, the payout. The landowner says to pay the last guys first.
Right. So the 5:00 p.m. crew steps up. They work for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And he flips them a full denarius.
A full day's wage.
Correct.
Now, if I'm the guy who started at 6 a.m., I'm watching this and I'm doing the math in my head.
Oh, immediately.
I'm thinking, okay, if they got a denarius for 1 hour and I work 12 hours, I am about to make bang. I'm getting 12 denarii.
It's a completely logical assumption. You think, finally, a break. I'm getting ahead. But then the foreman hands the 6 a.m. crew 1 denarius.
And the place erupts.
They grumble. And their complaint is so specific. They don't say, you underpaid us. They say, these guys who came last worked 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us.
That's it. You made them equal. They're not mad about their own money. They're mad about the other guy's money.
It's pure status anxiety. They got what they were promised. Their needs are met. But their ego is wounded because the gap between them and the rejects has just been closed.
So what does the landowner say?
He's very calm. He says, friend, I am doing you no wrong. Take your pay and go. But then he asks this question that just cuts so deep.
The translation I have says, are you envious because I am generous? But the notes say the Greek is even darker.
It is. The literal Greek is your eye evil because I am good?
Is your eye evil? Wow, that sounds intense. What does that mean?
It's a Hebrew idiom, the evil eye. It's about looking at someone else's blessing with resentment, with jealousy. It actually corrupts your own vision. He's asking, does my generosity to them somehow rob you? Why does their survival make you so angry?
That is a heavy, heavy question. We think justice is everyone getting what they deserve. But in this kingdom, the landowner operates on grace.
Right. If he'd operated on strict justice, the 5 p.m. guys would have starved. He cared more about their survival than the math. Which brings us to the punchline.
So the last will be first, and the first will be last.
A terrifying thought for anyone who thinks they're first. The hard workers, the religious elite, Jesus is saying you cannot work your way into leverage with God.
Okay, so intense lesson on grace versus merit. You'd think the disciples who were right there listening would get it.
You would think.
But the next scene, it's like they didn't hear a single word.
It's almost funny. The narrative moves. They're on the road now, from Jericho up to Jerusalem.
And you emphasized up. That's not just a figure of speech.
No, it's a literal grueling climb. Jericho is about 825 feet below sea level. Jerusalem is 2,500 feet above. You're ascending over 3,000 feet through the desert.
So it's a serious hike.
A death march, almost. It's hot, dusty. And as they're on this hard road, Jesus pulls the 12 aside for the 3rd time.
The 3rd time he tells them he's going to die.
Yes, but this time it is brutally specific. He says, we're going to Jerusalem. The Son of Man will be betrayed, handed over. He will be condemned, mocked, flogged, and crucified.
He's describing state-sponsored torture and execution.
Yes. He's saying, I am walking into a meat grinder. And then in the very next verse, we get this absurd scene change.
Jarring is an understatement.
Immediately after he describes his own torture, the mother of James and John kneels down in front of him.
Now, Matthew says the mother asks, but Mark says the brothers ask directly. Is that a contradiction?
Not really. It's probably a case of her being the spokesperson, the stage mom, but the son's right there pushing her. Jesus answers them directly, so they're all in on it.
They're using their mom to ask for a promotion.
While he's talking about being executed, the timing is just awful. She says, declare that in your kingdom, my sons can sit at your right and left hand.
And they're not asking for good seats at dinner.
No. They think he's going to Jerusalem to kick out the Romans and take the throne, the right and left hand. Those are the positions of highest power, Prime Minister and Secretary of State.
It's the 6 a.m. workers all over again. We've been here the longest. We deserve the best spot.
Exactly. They see a power pyramid, and they want to be at the top. And Jesus just looks at them and says, you do not know what you are asking. Then he asks them, can you drink the cup I am going to drink?
And so naively, they just say,
we can.
We can. Wow. What does the cup symbolize here?
In the Old Testament, the cup often symbolizes God's wrath or intense suffering. Jesus is saying, I'm about to absorb the judgment of the world. Can you handle that? They think he means a royal goblet. He means a cup of execution.
And ironically, he tells them they will drink it.
He does. And history shows they did. James was the first apostle martyred. John was exiled to a prison island. They just didn't drink it the way they imagined.
But the drama isn't done. The other 10 disciples hear about this.
And they get indignant.
Not because the brother were being insensitive, but...
No, because they tried to cut in line. They wanted those seats for themselves.
So they're all the same? Everyone is fighting to be first?
It's status anxiety all around. So Jesus calls a huddle. He knows he has to kill this way of thinking. He says, look at the Gentiles, the Romans. Their rulers lord it over everyone. It's a top-down power structure.
The guy at the top exploits everyone at the bottom.
Right. But Jesus says, it shall not be this way among you. He says, if you want to be great, you must be a servant, a diakonos. If you want to be first, you must be a slave, a doulos.
Servant. Slave. I mean, a slave in the first century was property, no rights at all. He's saying the path up is actually a race to the bottom.
And then he anchors it all in his own mission. This is the key verse. The Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many.
That word ransom.
Yeah.
Lytron, let's stop there because we hear ransom and we think of a kidnapping. Is that what's happening here?
It's deeper than that. In the Old Testament, a ransom, a lytron, was the price paid to liberate someone from a situation they couldn't escape. It was the money you paid to free a slave.
So it implies captivity.
Precisely. Jesus sees humanity as captives to sin and death. And he's not the king demanding tribute. He's the one paying the price out of his own pocket, his own life, to buy our freedom.
That connects everything. The first, Jesus becomes the last, the slave, so that the last us can be made first.
That is the upside-down logic. And it's completely alien to how Rome worked, or how our own world works.
Which brings us to the final scene. They're leaving Jericho, heading for that steep road. A massive crowd is following.
Passover pilgrims, most likely. The road would be jammed, noisy, dusty, chaotic.
And sitting by the roadside are two blind men. Now, my notes flag this because Mark and Luke only mention one blind man, Bartimaeus. Matthew says two.
Right. And critics love that. But it's not a contradiction. If there were two men and Mark just chose to focus on one, that's not a problem. But Matthew, writing to a Jewish audience, loved the principle of two witnesses.
Yeah.
In Jewish law, you needed two witnesses to establish a fact.
And these men are witnesses to who Jesus is.
Exactly. They hear the commotion and start shouting, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us.
And that title, Son of David, is not a small thing.
It's a messianic title. It's basically treason. They're shouting that he's the true king of Israel from a ditch on the side of the road. While the disciples argue about power, the blind men are the only ones who truly see.
And the crowd's reaction?
To shush them, be quiet. They're the last. They're an annoyance.
But they shout even louder, and Jesus stops. The whole procession stops. And he asks them the same question he asked the mother. What do you want me to do for you?
And the contrast is just beautiful. The mother said, I want glory, I want thrones. These men just say, Lord, let our eyes be opened. They don't want to rule. They just want to see.
And Jesus' response?
The text says he was moved with compassion. The Greek word is spleknizomai.
Sounds medical.
It kind of is. It refers to the gut, the internal organs. For them, deep emotion wasn't in the heart, it was in the gut. It's not a polite pity, it's a visceral gut punch of empathy. He feels their pain.
And he touches their eyes.
Which you just didn't do. You didn't touch the unclean. But he does, and they see. And their immediate reaction is the key to the whole chapter. They don't run off, they followed him.
They join the procession up that hard road to Jerusalem.
They join the road to the cross. They model the perfect response. They receive the unearned grace of the landowner, and their only response is to follow the giver.
So when you zoom out, the whole chapter is actually incredibly tight.
It is. Starts with the workers. The first are grumbling because of envy. Then the disciples, the first are fighting because of ambition. Both groups are blinded by what they think they deserve.
Blinded by their own evil eye.
Right. And then you end with the blind men, the last. The ones with nothing to offer, no status, no leverage.
And they're the ones who get it, who receive the kingdom. They ask for mercy, get compassion, and follow.
It proves what Jesus said from the start. The last will be first, and the first will be last. The blind men saw what the disciples were too ambitious to see.
It really forces you to look in the mirror. We all want to be the 6 a.m. worker. We think we're the hero who deserves the check.
But this text is saying, no, we are the beggar on the side of the road. We don't want fairness from God. If we get fairness, we're in trouble. We want the grace of the 11th hour. We need the ransom.
This deep dive has completely shifted how I read this. It's a warning against that evil eye of envy and a call to a totally different value system.
And it all connects back to the cross. The reason the landowner can be generous is because the Son of Man came to give his life. The cost was paid, just not by us.
So, to wrap up, we always like to leave you with something to chew on.
Right. So I want to go back to that question the landowner asks. Is your eye evil because I am generous?
It's a haunting question.
Here's the thought experiment. The next time you see someone get a break they didn't seem to earn, a colleague gets a promotion you think they don't deserve, or a rival gets forgiven for a huge mistake, just monitor your immediate internal reaction.
Do you celebrate with them? Or do you grumble to yourself?
Exactly. Does their blessing feel like your robbery? Because that little flash of resentment, that's the evil eye. And that's the indicator that maybe you're still operating by the rules of the world and not the rules of the upside-down kingdom.
That's a tough one. A challenge to check our own eyesight, to make sure we aren't the ones who are truly blind. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you on the next one.